Hello everybody, thank you for joining me for another one-man review. Today is another one of the books that I am going back to. It's J&K by John Pham, released from Fantagraphics. It's a really lovely book. It's got these fluorescent inks and it kind of looks like the risographs. I'm not sure if it was printed with the risograph or if they were just doing an offset print that had the that same type of ink, but it's got these really cool colors. Again, this is an aesthetic I'm seeing a lot of, and I like it, so I'm grabbing pretty much any book that looks like this and then hoping it's got a good story. The first time I read this book, I was in a really bad mood. We had just moved to Alabama, and our neighbor was playing drums every night. Our next door neighbor was playing drums in his garage every night, and it was like 10:30 at night, and I was trying to read this and settle down to fall asleep for the night, and this dude was just playing drums and I couldn't focus. So, and I wasn't enjoying the book, and so I just never went back to it. I kept it as like, it's cool, I like it, it looks cool, but I never went back to it. And then when I was doing like the shelf tour, I was thinking, I should in a better mood give that a second chance and see if it was just my mood that was determining my opinion of the book. It's got all this extra stuff in it, which is cool. I've stuck some stickers in the book. Like, I don't like keeping my comics precious, so if you give me some stickers, I'm going to find some places to put them. It has all these extra little fold-outs. This is a pamphlet for a game that's in the book. This is a little magazine that the characters refer to in the book, and then the magazine itself is like pretty complicated in how it's put together. It has a bio. That's where the bio of John Pham is at. I don't know how people produce stuff like this and convince a printer to chop it all up and put it together and then still be able to sell the book for only 24 bucks. Me and Sean need to figure that out, because I would love to play with this type of stuff. But I mean, look, it has like a little postcard that you could clip out and mail. Yeah, I don't know how to produce this kind of stuff without getting too cost prohibitive, but I'm glad they did it. And then it has some playing cards. These are a little flimsy compared to a normal playing card. And then in the back, it has a LP, a vinyl that I don't, I'm not a vinyl guy, so I don't know how to play it, but I'm assuming it has music on it. Again, that risograph look to the art, I think that's how this is printed. It's a really nice paper quality, kind of a creamy yellow paper quality. So it feels tactily very pleasing, and it's pleasing to look at, which is, the primary reason I grabbed the book. The stories, though, even on second read, just wasn't my thing. It seems very juvenile to me, which is appropriate. It's about kids like going to the mall and high school and blah blah blah, but not for me. And the humor's kind of juvenile as well. Like, this is back knee, and she gets this big zit and pops her back knee, and then it comes out as this like little grotesque body horror monster, and then back knee becomes one of their friends, and it's kind of, like a simpleton, I guess. And they name it Back Knee and give it some cute clothes. So that's the kind of, like, I guess, humor. It seems like they're supposed to have punchlines to them, but I don't know. I didn't find any of it funny. I didn't think any of the punchlines landed in any way. My initial impression on the night when I was irritated with it was that it was isolated stories, but on a read where I was more focused and in a better mood, there is a continuing narrative through a large chunk of the book. The first portion of the book kind of develops over these short stories. You get these characters interacting in a way that has some kind of ongoing narrative to it. But it's mostly kids going to parties, kids going to the mall, that kind of thing. And it's very nostalgic. Like, the mall has, like a Orange Julius. They have Orange Julios. And all the kids are talking about cassette tapes and taquitos and that kind of stuff. Here's another example of the juvenile humor is they want to steal something and they need a distraction. So it's like, oh, I got a fart. Well, okay, save that fart for the register. It'll be a perfect distraction. Okay, and then while everyone's busy gagging, we can just walk out with the merchandise. I love it. You're a genius. And then, like, the punchline is, don't you just love shopping? And that's where I'm saying, I don't know, man. It doesn't land for me. I looked up John. Well, let me look at this one. This is this character, Aggie, is trying to write a novel or a TV show. He's trying to write something. I think it's a novel, and is coming up with an outline for all of the characters. And this thoughts on tone, stark, humanistic, real people with real problems, capture life in all of its, and he tries to write verse of multitude and scratches out and write naturalness. And then, but there should be magical things that happen too. And I feel like that's kind of was John Pham's maybe list on the tone, like, okay, this is people doing people things, but we're going to have some magical stuff too, like your back knee comes alive, and, you know, we'll have characters that look weird, like this Aggie character, and there's some zombie monster creatures and stuff. But I just, I had to look up, not to be a dick, but I had to look up, like, this book feels like, because it's so nostalgic for the 80s, it feels like someone my age had to have made it. Like, I don't think any kid is going to be, you know, a 19, 20-year-old kid is going to be making a book that talks about cassette tapes and Orange Julius drinks. But also, like, with the juvenile humor and just this real obsession with, like, the high school experience, it feels like it has to be made by a fairly young person for that stuff to still seem like worth writing about to me. You know, like, I can't imagine being 40, you know, well, I looked up John Pham's 41, I'm 40. I can't imagine thinking that at my age that this was still stuff worth talking about and revisiting. Like, it's just so long ago and so much life has happened that, you know, high school and the mall, it's just like, I don't know. So that was my problem. That's where my barrier to the book was. I mean, that's obviously what John Pham's trying to do, and create a sense of nostalgia. And it, you know, and I always try and qualify, like, look, this isn't for me, but did the artist do what they were trying to do? Yeah, totally, absolutely. It's a book about nostalgia and high school. And it's really lovely to look at, and it nails that aesthetic perfectly. I just personally don't know why. It's like, bro, you're 41. Like, why are you worried about high school still? And so that's like the irritant for me when I'm reading it. But then here we have, right when I was really like, while I was making my notes, I saw this taco meat thing. And I'm like, God, the nostalgia, I just don't get it. I don't get the thing. Then you go to Blast from the Past yard sale. And John Pham gives, I think, his reason for why you would deal with nostalgia from an adult standpoint. And they're like, you know, what are you into? This is all useless trash. And he says, trash, everything here is super collectible and thus valuable. I'm selling it because I'm broke. And, you know, yeah, why are you such a weird pack rat? Or in my case, I'm reading this, is like, why are you so worried about nostalgia? And Jay says, there's maybe a deep emptiness inside of you. It's not weird. Those objects have meaning. Look at this orange slice, for example. If I keep it, maybe in the future, it'll spark a longing in me for a bygone era or lost loved ones. And that's, to me, where it takes a turn for the adult, maybe, is you're justifying the nostalgia as a way of dealing with grief. And that's kind of interesting. These things are tokens of remembrance, places for people from my life, and then it just gets cut off by the youthful, hey, how much is this? So there it's like, okay, maybe I see where you're going. And then the book turns into a series of like one-page gags that, again, I just like, these are not funny at all, not vibing with it, not my type of humor. And then there's a series of them where Kay gets sick and Jay is caring for Kay. And the book goes back to the theme of like the nostalgia as a way of coping with grief. And then all of a sudden it gets really interesting. And this particular two-page spread, this one story here, to me is like, this is the kind of stuff that I expect a 41-year-old to be talking about. The kind of stuff that me as a 40-year-old am looking for. that seems, like Sean always says, really well observed human behavior stuff. And I was in it for this 2-page spread where J, in caring for K, comes back having done so much work and then comes back empty, has just lost their identity totally in caring for someone else. And that's powerful, and the visual representation of it is powerful. And then there's a couple more episodes of dealing with caring for someone who's sick, and then losing a friend, and the way the world would close in on you, and then dealing with loss. And so, like, that little chunk maybe is the key for the book to me. That's what all the nostalgia that was irritating is about, is this is really a book about loss and wanting to go back to that, and that's a way of coping with loss. So then I have a more positive read on it, but it takes until, you know, here in a book this thick for me to see that, and I was checked out already. So maybe my biggest criticism of the book is that if that is what John Pham was up to, which I think that's the justification for all the nostalgia, is the ratio, like the ratio to get there to the part that really matters. It like took too long, and it's too easy to ignore it. And you know, it caught me on a bad day where I was, you know, that's my fault, but I wasn't gonna make it through the whole book. But also, just like, I'm reading it and I get, you know, 100 pages in, and it's just like childish shit. It's hard to expect the reader to keep going. You can't, in my mind, you can't expect every reader to make it all the way to the last 15 pages when you're not giving them enough meat. So that's my big criticism of the book. I do think when you sit down and get to the end and really think about it, there is something deep and worthwhile there. It's amazing, and obviously it put me in a childish mood because I stuck the Der Sausage House sticker right in Kay's crotch. But there is something there, and as an object, it's beautiful and worth having. So I would still recommend everyone go buy it. That's just, I'm trying to be honest with my thought process as I'm reading the book. And then back here we've got this vinyl, which I don't have any way to listen to. But also, how the heck are you going to play that thing anyways? We can't afford a turntable. And then Kay says, I don't know, I just like having it. And that's a little bit summing up my experience of the book too. Like, I just like having it. It's a nice object. It's beautiful. If I really sat down and formulate a thought for a review, I can force some meaning out of it for myself. But to me, it's just something cool. It's something cool to have. It's beautiful. I like all the little stuff stuck in. It makes me wonder about, you know, production possibilities, how they did this, how I could do similar things, you know. So I would still recommend getting it. I think John Pham is obviously a very formed artist, knows what they're doing, and really powerful in terms of design and aesthetics. And I'm curious to see what John Pham does next. I'm curious to see if it's always this nostalgic stuff or if there's something else here. But you don't make a book like this with this kind of design unless you're really up to something, I don't think. And I really like whatever it is. I like the vibe. I'm just curious to see it evolve. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.